These stories aren't about ghosts. They're about something much worse. Because whatever was out there didn't stay in the woods. It followed them home. And the worst part is, it learned how to sound like them. I wasn't supposed to go out that day. It was one of those early November mornings where the cold doesn't just sit on your skin, it gets inside your chest when you breathe. My dad had been planning that hunting trip all week, but he bailed last minute because of work. I almost stayed home too, but I'd already packed everything the night before. And honestly, I needed the quiet. I got to the trail just before sunrise. No other cars. No sound except the wind pushing through the trees. It felt normal. Peaceful, even. That changed about an hour in. I had set up near a clearing I'd used before. Good visibility. Deer tracks everywhere. I climbed into a small stand I'd tied up weeks ago and settled in. Coffee in one hand, rifle resting across my lap. That's when I saw the first sign something was off. There were footprints, not deer, not mine. They were fresh, pressed deep into the dirt, leading into the trees across the clearing. At first I didn't think much of it. People hunt out here all the time. But then I noticed something weird. There was only one set. No return tracks, just footprints going deeper into the woods. I remember thinking, maybe he took a different path out. That made sense. It had to. So I ignored it for about 20 minutes. Then I heard something. Not loud, just a branch snapping. It came from the direction of those footprints. I froze. You learn pretty quickly when hunting that you don't move unless you have to. I stayed completely still, eyes locked on the tree line. Another sound. Closer this time. But it didn't sound like an animal. There was a rhythm to it. Too slow. Too deliberate. Like someone trying not to be heard. I whispered to myself, probably another hunter. But something in my chest didn't agree. I picked up my rifle, not aiming, just holding it tighter now. Then I saw him. At first I thought it was a deer moving through the brush, but the shape was wrong. Too upright, too still. He stepped out just enough for me to see part of his body. A man. No orange vest. No gear. Just standing there, half hidden behind a tree. Watching. I didn't move. Neither did he. We stayed like that for what felt like minutes, but was probably only a few seconds. Then he slowly stepped back behind the tree and disappeared. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. That's when I made my first mistake. I climbed down. I don't know why I did it. Maybe I thought I should say something. Maybe I just didn't want to sit there wondering if he was still watching me. "Hey," I called out. "You hunting out here?" No answer. I took a few steps toward the tree line. "Man, you gotta wear orange out here," I said, trying to sound casual. Still nothing. I got closer. Close enough to see behind the tree where he'd been standing. There was no one there. But the ground was soft, and I could clearly see fresh prints. The same ones. Only now I noticed something that made my stomach drop. They weren't facing away from me. They were facing toward me. Meaning, he hadn't walked away. He had stepped backward into the trees, still facing me. I stood there for a second, trying to process that. Then I heard it again. That same slow movement. But this time, behind me. I turned around fast, raising my rifle instinctively. Nothing. Just trees. But I knew. I wasn't alone anymore. And whoever that was moving around me. I backed up slowly, trying not to make noise, scanning every direction. My heart was pounding so loud I was sure it was giving me away. Then I saw movement to my left, a glimpse of him. Closer now. Maybe 20 yards away. Still no gear. No weapon that I could see. Just watching. And then he smiled. Not wide. Not exaggerated. Just enough for me to know he was doing it on purpose. That's when I stopped thinking. I turned and started walking fast back toward the trail. Not running. Not yet. Just trying to get out without triggering something. But I could hear him now. Walking too. Matching my pace. Staying just out of sight. Every time I slowed down, the sound behind me slowed too. Every time I sped up, it followed. That's when panic really hit. I broke into a run, branches whipping past my face, boots slipping on leaves. I didn't care anymore. I just needed to get back to my truck. The sound behind me got louder, faster, closer. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I finally saw the trail opening up ahead, and then my truck. I ran straight for it, fumbled the keys, almost dropped them, and then a voice right behind me. "Hey!" I froze. It was close, too close. I turned around. No one there. Nothing. Just the trees. Completely still. I didn't wait. I got in the truck, locked the doors, and didn't stop driving until I hit the main road. I kept checking my mirrors the whole way home. No cars followed me. No one. I tried to convince myself it was nothing. Just another hunter messing with me. But there's one thing I can't explain. When I got home, I checked my gear. My backpack had been opened. I know I didn't open it out there. And one thing was missing. My knife. We weren't supposed to go that far off the trail. It started as a normal weekend plan. 4 of us, me, Tyler, Josh, and Eric, had been talking about getting out of the city for weeks. Nothing crazy. Just a simple overnight camping trip before winter got too cold to enjoy it. Tyler was the one who found the trail. He said it was quiet, not too crowded, and had a few good spots for camping if you went a little deeper in. That should have been the first red flag. We left early Saturday morning, packed light but enough for one night. The drive took about 2 hours, and the last 30 minutes were on a dirt road that barely looked maintained. No other cars passed us, no signs of people. "Perfect," Tyler said. At the time, we agreed. We started hiking around noon. The trail was narrow, covered in fallen leaves, and it didn't look like many people had been there recently. No trash, no footprints, just trees stretching out in every direction. It was quiet in a way that didn't feel peaceful. More like empty. We joked around for the first hour, just normal stuff. But the deeper we went, the less we talked. Not because anything had happened. Just something about the place made it feel like we shouldn't be making too much noise. By the time Tyler suggested we leave the main trail and head toward a clearing he'd seen on a map, none of us argued. We should have. The clearing took another 20 minutes to reach. It wasn't big. Just enough space between the trees to set up a few tents. The ground was flat, mostly dry, and there was a small dip nearby that could have been a creek at some point. "Good spot," Eric said. We started dropping our bags, stretching, looking around. That's when Josh noticed it. "Hey, you guys see that?" He was pointing toward the far side of the clearing. At first, I didn't. Blended in too well with the trees. But once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. A tent. Old-looking, dark green, partially collapsed, like one of the poles had snapped. It was tucked just inside the tree line, almost hidden. "Someone beat us here," Tyler said. He didn't sound concerned, more annoyed than anything. We walked closer. Up close, it didn't look abandoned the way we first thought. The fabric was worn, sure, but not rotted, not covered in dirt or leaves like something that had been there for months. Eric crouched down and touched the zipper. "It's stuck," he said. "But this isn't that old." Josh circled around the back. "There's stuff inside." "What kind of stuff?" I asked. "Like normal stuff. Sleeping bag. Backpack." Tyler shrugged. "Probably just someone hiking through. They'll come back." "Then where are they?" Eric asked. No one answered. Because it was a fair question. There were no footprints around the tent, no fire pit, no signs of a recent camp, just the tent, sitting there. It didn't feel like someone had left. It felt like someone had disappeared. We stood there longer than we should have. Then Tyler clapped his hands together. "Whatever. Let's just set up over there." He pointed to the opposite side of the clearing, and that was that. We set up camp about 30 yards away from the old tent, far enough to feel separate. Close enough that we could still see it if we looked. No one said it out loud, but we all kept glancing at it, like we were expecting it to change or move. We built a small fire as the sun started going down. The temperature dropped fast once the light faded. The woods got darker in a way that felt heavier than it should, like the darkness had weight to it. We sat around the fire, eating, talking, trying to keep things normal, but the conversation kept drifting back to the same thing. "That tent's weird, man," Josh said at one point. "It's just old," Tyler replied. "You're overthinking it." "No, I mean, it doesn't make sense. If someone left it, why leave everything? Maybe they're coming back." "Then why no tracks?" Tyler didn't have an answer. None of us did. We let it go after that. At least we tried to. By around 9 p.m., it was completely dark. No moonlight, just the fire and whatever our flashlights could reach. That's when we heard it. A whistle. Soft. Short. It came from somewhere in the trees. We all went quiet immediately. "Did you hear that?" Eric asked. No one needed to answer. We all heard it. It came again. Same sound. Same length. Not random. Not like wind or an animal. It sounded intentional. Tyler stood up and grabbed his flashlight. "Probably someone out there," he said, though he didn't sound as confident as before. He took a few steps toward the trees. "Hey," he called out. "We're camping here." No response, just silence. He turned back toward us. "Probably nothing." The whistle came again, this time from a different direction. Behind us, closer. We all turned. The trees looked the same as before. Dark. Still. But something about it felt wrong. Like we weren't alone anymore. "Okay," Josh said quietly. "That's not funny." "No one's laughing," Eric replied. Tyler came back to the fire, sitting down slower this time. "No one's out there," he said. But he didn't sound convinced. The whistle didn't come again after that. But none of us relaxed. The fire burned lower. The conversation died out completely. We just sat there, listening. Every small sound felt amplified. Leaves shifting, branches creaking. The kind of noises you'd normally ignore. Now we couldn't. Around midnight, we decided to turn in. Not because we were tired, because none of us wanted to sit out there anymore. I got into my tent and zipped it shut, leaving just a small gap near the top for air. I lay there, staring into the darkness, listening. At first, nothing. Then, footsteps. Slow, deliberate, moving through the leaves. I held my breath. They weren't close enough to see, but close enough to hear clearly. Crunch. Pause. Crunch. It wasn't random movement. It was controlled, like someone trying not to make noise. I sat up slowly, trying not to shift the tent too much. The footsteps stopped. Right outside. I could feel it. Whoever it was standing just a few feet away. I didn't move, didn't speak. I just listened. Then I saw it. A shadow. Faint at first. Then clearer. Projected onto the side of the tent from the dim glow of the dying fire. A human shape, standing still. Facing me. My chest tightened. I reached slowly for my flashlight, my hand shaking more than I wanted to admit. The shadow didn't move. It just stayed there, watching. Then it leaned forward, slightly, enough for me to see the shape shift, like it was trying to look inside. That was it. I turned the flashlight on and aimed it straight at the tent wall. The shadow disappeared instantly. I unzipped the tent as fast as I could and stepped out, shining the light around. Nothing. No one. Just the trees. But I could hear movement, running. Fast. Moving away. "Guys," I whispered loudly, moving toward the others' tents. They were already awake. "Did you hear that?" Josh said, his voice tense. "There was someone right outside my tent," I said. No one argued, because they had heard it too. We didn't even discuss it. We just started packing. Fast. Throwing things into bags, not caring about organization or noise. The fire was still barely glowing, casting just enough light to see. As I grabbed my backpack, I looked toward the old tent, and something about it made me stop. It looked different. I stepped closer, my flashlight shaking slightly. It wasn't collapsed anymore. The pole was upright, the fabric stretched properly, like someone had fixed it. "Yo. Guys," I said quietly. They came over. "Was it like that before?" Eric asked. No one answered, because we all knew it wasn't. Then the zipper moved, just slightly, from the inside. We froze. No one breathed. No one spoke. The zipper didn't open. It just shifted, like something inside had touched it. That was enough. "Go," Tyler said. We didn't argue. We grabbed what we could and left the rest. Didn't look back. Didn't stop. We moved fast through the trees, back toward the trail, not caring about noise anymore. About 10 minutes in, I heard it again. The footsteps. Behind us. Matching our pace. Not rushing. Not chasing. Just following. We didn't run. But we didn't slow down either. Eventually, we reached the main trail. And then the parking area. Our car was still there. No signs anyone else had been around. We threw our stuff in and got out of there as fast as we could. No one spoke for the first 10 minutes of the drive. Finally, Josh broke the silence. "Did anyone else see that zipper move?" "Yeah," I said. "Yeah," Eric added. Tyler didn't say anything. He just kept driving. We never went back, and we never talked about it again. At least, not together. But there's one thing I still think about sometimes. Something I didn't tell them. When I looked at that tent, right before we left, I'm pretty sure, there were 2 shapes inside. Not one. I didn't believe my brother at first. Even when he told me everything, step by step, I kept looking for a normal explanation. Something simple. Something that made sense. Because the alternative didn't. And I didn't want it to. My brother Daniel had gone hunting with his friend Mark that weekend. Nothing unusual about that. They'd been doing it for years, usually sticking to the same areas, the same routines. But this time, they went deeper. That's what changed everything. Mark had been talking about it for weeks. Said he'd been scouting a new area further out where he'd seen signs of deer. Tracks, broken brush, things that looked promising. Daniel didn't question it. He trusted Mark. So they went. They left before sunrise and hiked in while it was still dark. According to Daniel, everything felt normal at first. Cold air, damp ground, that usual quiet you get in the woods early in the morning. But as the sun came up, something shifted. Not suddenly, just gradually. The forest got quieter. Too quiet. No birds, no insects. Even the wind seemed distant. Daniel said it felt like the sound just stopped existing around them. At the time, they didn't think much of it. They should have. They kept moving. Further than they usually would. Eventually, the trail faded into nothing. That didn't stop them. They were used to going off trail. But the deeper they went, the more it felt like they were somewhere they weren't supposed to be. That's when they found it. At first, Daniel thought it was just a pile of fallen branches. But then he noticed how they were arranged. It wasn't random. It was built. A narrow structure made from sticks and branches, tied together tightly with something thin, maybe wire, maybe cord. It stood about 5 feet tall. Too small to be a shelter. Too deliberate to be an accident. "What is that?" Daniel asked. Mark didn't answer right away. He just stared at it. "There shouldn't be anything like this out here," he said. Daniel stepped closer. That's when he saw the bones. Small ones. Dozens of them. Tied into the structure. Not scattered. Placed. Carefully. Deliberately. Like each one had a purpose. Daniel said he felt something drop in his chest when he saw it. Not fear, exactly. More like recognition. Like his body understood something before his brain did. "Let's go," Mark said. His voice had changed. Tighter. Lower. Daniel didn't argue. They didn't touch anything. Didn't take pictures. Didn't even walk around it. They just turned and started heading back. And that's when it started. At first, it was just a feeling. That sense of being watched. Daniel kept glancing behind him, expecting to see someone. But there was nothing. Just trees. Then they heard it. Footsteps. Faint. Behind them. Not close, but not far either. Crunching softly over leaves. They both stopped. The sound stopped too. They looked at each other. No one said anything. Then Mark turned around. "Hey!" he called out. No response, just silence. They stood there for a few seconds. Then they kept walking. The footsteps came back, matching their pace. Stopping when they stopped. Starting when they started. That's when they both knew. Something was following them. They didn't run. Not yet. They just walked faster, trying to stay calm, trying to convince themselves it was another hunter. But something about it didn't feel like a person. It felt controlled. Too controlled. Like it was staying just out of sight on purpose. They reached the truck eventually, got in, locked the doors, and just sat there for a minute. Neither of them spoke. Then Mark started the engine and drove. They didn't see anyone on the way out. No cars. No people. Nothing. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. That night, Daniel was home alone. Our parents were out of town. I was supposed to come over the next day. He told me everything felt normal at first. He showered, ate, tried to relax. But he couldn't shake the feeling. Like something hadn't stayed in the woods. Like it had come back with him. He tried to ignore it. Until he heard the sound. A scratching noise. At first he thought it was outside. An animal, maybe. But then it moved. Slowly. Dragging along the wall. From one side of the house to the other. He muted the TV. Listened. The sound kept going. Not random. Not chaotic. Deliberate. Like something was tracing the outline of the house. He stood up and looked out the window. Nothing. The yard was empty. but the sound was still there. Then it stopped. Right near the back of the house. He waited. That's when the knocking started. 3 knocks. Clear. Measured. On the back door. He didn't move. 3 more knocks. Same pattern. He said that's when he felt it. That something wasn't right. It didn't feel like someone knocking. It felt like something pretending to. He didn't answer. Didn't even speak. After a few minutes it stopped. No footsteps. No voices. Just silence. He didn't sleep that night. The next morning he called me. Told me everything. I didn't believe him. Not really. I thought he was tired. On edge. Letting his imagination get to him. I went over that evening anyway, mostly to prove to him and myself that it was nothing. Everything seemed normal. We ordered food, watched TV, talked about random stuff. He didn't bring it up again. Neither did I. Around 10 p.m. it started. The same sound. Scratching. On the wall. We both heard it at the same time. We froze. It was exactly how he described it. Slow. Dragging. Moving along the side of the house. I looked at him. He just nodded. Like he expected it. The sound moved toward the back. We followed it quietly. Stopped near the hallway leading to the back door. It stopped. Right outside. Then, knock. 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 3 times. I felt my chest tighten. "Don't," Daniel whispered. I wasn't planning to. The knocking came again. Same rhythm. Then, a voice from the other side of the door. Soft. Muffled. Like it was trying to speak through something. It didn't form full words. Just sounds. Broken. Then it changed. It sounded familiar. Too familiar. I looked at Daniel. His face had gone pale. Because the voice, it sounded like him. Not exact, but close. Like something trying to copy his voice. Repeating it. Testing it. Getting it wrong. We didn't respond. Didn't move. The voice went on for a few seconds. Then stopped. Silence. We stayed there for a long time. Listening. Waiting. Nothing else happened. The next morning we checked outside. There were marks on the wall. Long. Dragged. Like something had been scraping along it. And footprints. But not normal ones. Too narrow. Too long. Like they'd been stretched. They circled the house. Stopped at the back door. Then led away. Toward the trees. That's when things got worse. Because it didn't stop with Daniel. A week later, Mark called him. Panicking. Mark said he'd been hearing things too. Same scratching. Same footsteps. But his was worse. Because he lived alone. Out near the edge of town. Closer to the woods. He said it had been happening every night. At first, just sounds. Then knocking. Then, voices. Mimicking. Calling his name. Sometimes sounding like Daniel. Sometimes like his own voice. But always wrong. Always just slightly off. Daniel went over to an place one night. He told me later he regretted it. Because whatever it wasn't just attached to one place. It followed. That night at Mark's house, they both heard it again. Outside, walking, slow, circling, then stopping. At the door. Knock. 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 Mark almost opened it. Daniel had to physically stop him. "Don't," he said. Because by then, they both knew. Whatever it was, it wanted them to let it in. They didn't sleep. Neither of them. The next day, Mark left, packed a bag, went to stay with his sister, said he wasn't going back. Daniel didn't blame him. For a while, things went quiet. No sounds, no footsteps, no knocking. We thought maybe it was over. Then it started with me. At first, it was small, things I could ignore, a noise outside, something brushing against the wall. I told myself it was nothing, until the night I heard it clearly. Footsteps. Right outside my window. Slow. Measured. Stopping when I moved. Starting when I stayed still. Then, knock. 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 On my back door. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. I just stood there. Listening. Then I heard it. My voice. From outside. Calling my name. Soft. Almost right. But not. And that's when I understood. It wasn't just copying. It was learning. Listening. Getting better. Every time. I still hear it sometimes. Late at night. When everything is quiet. Footsteps. Circling. Waiting. And every once in a while, it tries again. Using my voice. A little more accurate each time. Like it's getting closer to getting it right. And I don't know what happens when it finally does. Not everything in the woods wants to be left behind. If you hear something outside tonight, don't answer it. Let me know which story got to you the most, and I'll see you in the next one.